I like Texas.
Hello, welcome back to Ycft. It has been so long since we've done a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. I always look forward to these every year. I know you don't as much look forward to them.
I've said it before, this is not one of my favourite franchises. I can respect the original, absolutely, it's a classic. But even that is not a movie I return to a lot, and I'm just unfamiliar, really, with the Texas Chainsaw franchise at large.
If you think Halloween is Choose Your Own Adventure, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is to a whole other level, and it kind of starts with this movie, just Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. What a name.
The longest movie title in history.
Now, the second movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, was made by Canon, who obviously famously went under. New Line came in and picked up the rights to that to make this movie. So, obviously, New Line, they created Nightmare on Elm Street, which was a massive influence on this film. And I'll point out why. It's weird. Today we recorded two videos, this and Prom Night 2, which have both had Nightmare on Elm Street influences.
Yes.
But it's weird to think New Line at one point, so they owned Leatherface, Freddy, and at one point Jason, all in the 90s.
Riding High.
This is the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre film that New Line did, because it bombed.
Yes.
But there's multiple reasons to why that happened, but it's ultimately, it's a confusing film when you start trying to line it up with the other ones. This is a movie that is designed to just watch, turn your brain off, and have some fun. We hadn't heard good things about this one at all. Not gonna lie, I actually kind of had a bit of fun with this movie.
I really liked it.
I think
I'm ashamed to say it, but I really liked it.
I think I had seen it before when I was younger. All I remembered was the fancy-ass chainsaw, which I believe its name is Chromium Excalibur.
I mean, okay.
I think that's what it was called in the trivia. And I remember a baby Viggo Mortensen.
Baby
Aragorn.
Vigo, yeah.
But I remembered nothing else about this movie. And I actually did kind of have a lot of fun with this movie.
I had too much fun with this. I went in with zero expectations. No, actually, no, that's a lie. I went in with expectations of I'm not going to enjoy this. Well, I know we need to do another Texas movie, so we might as well carry on from where we left off after 2. Prepared to just get a little bit of trivia down and sort of switch my brain off as I was watching it. And god damn it, this movie sucked me in really early on. I actually really enjoyed it. I think this has actually been my most enjoyable experience thus far of watching a Texas Chainsaw movie.
Do you think it's because, let's be fair, this is more commercial than the previous ones? Is that definitely not as art housey as the original one? It's not as zany as the second one. Is it just a much more palatable
I think so.
movie?
For me, 3 has it takes the best bits of 1 and 2 and kind of meshes them together. And look, I'm not saying this film is a masterpiece, God, far from it, but in terms of how different 1 and 2 are from each other, I think 3 has a nice balance of those parts to make a cohesive whole.
I'll go into the origins of this movie because that's also kind of messy. When New Line acquired these rights, they speed ran getting a movie into production. The teaser, which is incredible, by the way, the teaser for this movie, it's literally the chainsaw's Excalibur coming out of the water.
Yeah.
Amazing. That was filmed before they even had a director, and rumour has it was Kane Hodder who played Leatherface in
I think you can tell
teaser,
that's Kane.
because he was also the stunt coordinator
Body language,
for the movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a concern he plays Leatherface for the game. It's they actually did technically get a previous actor in.
Yeah.
They shopped this around to almost every director. They even went back to Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
Who I think considered it, but then ultimately didn't want to.
Tobe Hooper, Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Sam Raimi.
Tom Savini, Rennie Harlin. Everyone basically was offered this film.
And no one wanted to touch it.
No one wanted it.
Go bear in mind, the previous film, Tobe Hooper went in a drastically different direction from the original one. You wouldn't even think they were the same director. But we're not here to talk about that one. Obviously, we've done a whole video on that one. I do personally really like that. He literally only made it because he had a free film deal with Canon, and one of those films had to be a Texas Chainsaw sequel.
Yeah.
This one, New Line want to take it more in the direction of the original movie. And I will say, I do think it achieves that. You feel the heat and the dirtiness of the original one.
Grimy.
So they settled on a guy called Jeff Burr, who was sacked within the first week of filming. For no reason. It seems like there was a lot of pressure on the production to stay on schedule or be ahead of schedule. And he was on schedule.
Yeah.
But then literally they had to rehire him when they could not find anybody else that would take on this movie.
Yeah. He was just doing his job.
He was just doing his job. So they hired him back. and the film gets underway.
Yeah.
Timeline-wise, this movie makes zero sense. It's kind of been described as, you can view it as part of the original timeline of 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
New Line did almost kind of intend for it to be more of a sequel to the first film, ignoring the events of the second one, but does acknowledge it in some way, but also to be seen as a reboot when before reboots were a thing, because it doesn't really follow the events. It hints at the events of the first movie. So it's kind of meant to just stand on its own. I do think you can just watch this film on its own. It's not weighed down by any baggage of previous films. But it's called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Yes.
That's where the problem lies.
So they are directly tying it.
They're directly tying it into the previous two films, but don't really acknowledge them in any way, shape or form. This film should have just been called Leatherface, which I know there was a movie in 2017 called Leatherface. This movie should have just been called Leatherface. I
get what you're saying. My only thing with that is I don't think Leatherface is a main character enough to warrant the film being named after him.
That's the same with most of these movies.
But yeah, true.
Timeline-wise, it's a bit confusing. And when I say it throws back to the other movies, the incredible chainsaw has the Saw is family, which is a direct line from Drayton Sawyer in the second movie.
Yeah.
Caroline Williams, who played Stretch in the original one, has a blink and you miss it cameo. Literally, I did miss it.
You blinked and you missed it.
And I missed it.
Yeah.
She plays a reporter right at the beginning of the movie. She's meant to have progressed from being a radio DJ to a reporter. The only reason we know that she's meant to be Stretch is because the director said to her, in my mind, you are this character. He brought her in for that. He's like, but I can't officially give you that as the role because then people need to be paid, because I believe the rights would be all over the place for something like that. I don't know how complicated it is with canon not being a thing anymore.
Yeah.
But by the director saying that, Stretch is in this movie.
Technically, she is in this movie. Caroline Williams is in this movie.
Yeah.
She has no dialogue in the movie. And as you literally, you look away for a few seconds and you wouldn't even know she was there.
Yeah. So
she doesn't have any bearing on the story whatsoever.
Ultimately, it's much easier if you just watch it as a singular film. And when it comes to, when the game came out, I know there was a lot of expectation that we were going to get Leatherface from across all of the games. And the developer said, don't expect that. We only have the rights to the first movie. And no wonder, like, who would you even negotiate with to get the rights for 2? Who owns, like, whoever, I suppose it'd be whoever owns all of, like, Canon's properties. Then you'd have to go to New Line for the third one. And then, God forbid, whoever else, I believe Warner Brothers and Lionsgate have owned them at certain points as well. It's complicated.
Man.
So it is just, you can actually just pick whatever story you want. Even the director of the latest movie has said that in his mind, all the previous films are canon in some way, shape or form. Some might be legend. Just pick whichever ones you want.
Pick the ones that work for you, which I guess, honestly, is the best way to maybe go about it.
Yeah.
At this stage.
Which, really, now I've included 2 films up here. I've got the 2013 Texas Chainsaw 3D and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 remake. It's weird, I feel like we've not even started talking about this movie yet. Do you think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is cursed in the sense of it can't really have functioning sequels?
Yeah. I think the issue, I personally think anyway, is when you go right back to the original movie, famously, very low budget, it is art house, it doesn't really have a plot as such. It's very much bad things just start happening to this very unsuspecting group of people. Like, there's no real context or anything, it's just, we're in this really horrible situation, we got to deal with it. That's it. I think the issue with the sequels in this franchise is writers, producers, whoever, they start applying plot and they feel the need to, like, you know, give characters backstories and, like, you know, other things introduced into the mix. Like in 2022, you've got the whole, like, buying that, what even was it? I don't know. Like the ghost town, yeah, and like you've got the Gen Zers, you know, meeting the boomers, and like they tried to turn that into a thing. It didn't work. I think as soon as you start applying,
even through school shootings in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like you start applying plot and trying to make anything even remotely a little bit more complex or thought provoking. It doesn't work. It just doesn't belong in this franchise. So I don't think sequels really do work here.
That's why I put these 2 films in particular. So I'd say the problem with the sequels of, say, over the last 10 to 12 years is their constant need to feel attached to the original one. This film here, the 2013 film, a long lost sequel to the original one. So it's like a requel. 2022, a requel to the original one, but the time list keeps getting bigger and bigger between it. 2017's Leatherface, oh, we got a prequel to the original. All of these films are desperately trying to connect
To the OG.
to the OG. When as time goes on, that's just getting harder
Harder to do.
and harder. 2003 worked so well because it was just a straight up remake
Yeah.
that roughly followed it, but mostly just did its own thing, and
Yes.
it was very successful. And I'd say it's quite a beloved film. As soon as they did a prequel to that movie, trash, flopped. Again, you cannot tack films onto Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It works so well
work.
as a solo story.
It does.
Which is why, if they just called this movie Leatherface, I'd have no problems timeline-wise with it.
Yeah, I think Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3,
It's such a mouthful.
it works as a standalone entity. I was fully enjoying it. Yes, I was clocking where things didn't quite align with the previous films, and I still have a few questions on certain things, but I didn't curb my enjoyment. I could follow this movie from beginning to end. As a standalone movie, this works really well. As a sequel,
Makes no sense.
it falls apart. But I'm not judging it as a sequel. I'm judging it as a standalone movie.
Yeah, we didn't question any of it until after the movie.
Yeah.
So, what's our two main characters called?
Michelle and Ryan.
So they are just travelling through Texas.
We're on the road.
To be honest, I didn't even clock if they were a couple.
No,
or
neither
not.
did
I found
I.
that out afterwards. I thought they were just mates.
I asked you, like, what's the relationship? Have we missed something here? Because they're not romantic. Surely
Yeah.
not.
Well, Ryan was killed by Jason in the previous film, wasn't he?
Part 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his character.
There is a little girl in this who's also Friday the 13th alumni, which is quite cool.
Also Part 7.
So they're traveling through Texas. They need some gas, and they come across this creepy guy.
The Last Chance gas station.
And what's the name of the creepy gas attendant?
Alfredo.
Alfredo. To be honest, I will give this to everyone playing a villain in this movie. They are hamming it up in the best way.
Tom Everett plays Alfredo.
Oh, just
What
you can
scumbag, man.
like
Oh, he's dirty.
he's dirty.
I
He
know.
wants and they're kind of saved by
He likes Michelle.
Viggo Mortensen's text.
You son of a bitch! I was only looking at her. She liked it. She liked the fangs. Just ask her.
Would you just shut up, stupid?
He was totally not a bad guy.
Yeah, right.
He gives them directions of where to go because there's a road closure because of some bodies that have been found. That's
Yes.
where Caroline Williams was before as a reporter. Now they're on this road for a long time. Prior to that, Alfredo, is that good, right? Alfredo? Mm-hmm. He doesn't like being rejected, so he pulls a shotgun on them, shoots out their back window, and then seemingly shoots Tex.
Jesus Christ! Holy fuck, he dusted him!
What happened? Dustin who?
The cowboy! He shot the cowboy!
What?
And they're on this road for a long time. And
Long ass time.
the tire goes, so Ryan's trying to replace the tire, and this is where they get attacked by Leatherface. He's got a leg brace on, because obviously he cut his leg with his chainsaw in the original
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Could have been for me blowing up for a grenade in the
Could
second
have been.
one. Who knows? I really like the look of Leatherface in this one.
Yeah.
What's the name of the actor? Can you try and pronounce his name? Because I think he was a wrestler.
Randall Mihailov? Randall.
You know, I'm as a blanket statement, I don't think there's ever been a bad actor to play Leatherface. In the ones that we've covered so far, I've not seen The Next Generation,
That's
so I don't know.
my experience.
Leatherface 2017 is a different case entirely. We'll get to that, but as a bog standard, Leatherface, mask, chainsaw, everyone seems to do a pretty good job, and I think he does a really good job. I actually really like the look of him in this one. I like his mask.
I have no problem with any of the Leatherfaces.
They get back on the road, and they end up totaling their car because there's another car driven by Ken Fury. Benny coming the other way. He helps them. Basically, both cars flip. He's a survivalist.
Yeah.
And they're panicking. Another truck pulls up and starts putting flares down. It's, is he a member of the family? Oh, yes, he is absolutely a member
Yeah.
of the family.
So, just for full context, at this point in the film, we have Leatherface ambushing them on the road. We've got Tinker, who is the new addition.
Yeah.
And they've already been ambushed by Alfredo back at the gas station. So
Yeah.
they've had a rough night.
What actually makes them crash is they see Tex covered in blood coming into the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what makes them swerve into Ken Fury. Just chaos. Ken Fury is... I love whenever he turns up. I feel like we've talked about him a lot recently.
Yeah.
So he can instantly see that something's up. So he goes to assemble his rifle from his truck.
Yeah. They're trying to tell him,
Yeah.
there's a chainsaw-wielding madman
Which
on the road.
you're not going to
by the
believe,
way.
are you? He's up and down this road all the time. Tinkerer, did you say his name was?
Tinker.
Yeah, he's got one eye. He's got like a prosthetic hand.
Yeah.
So he tries to ram him off the road as soon as he kind of realizes that he's a bit suspicious. Because what made Ken Fury realize that something was up was there was a chainsaw in the back of the car. Plus the fact there's a really weird guy here.
Really weird guy.
That leads to him having a bit of a fight with Leatherface and his chainsaw, and
Yeah.
it's really fucking cool.
It is.
He is saved by a girl that we saw in the opening credits of this movie,
Sarah.
who's basically got like stigmatas and is clearly very, very traumatized.
Also having a rough night.
Also having a rough night. She's kind of a hinted to what is going to happen to Michelle later on in the film.
Yeah.
She's just chainsawed in half. Out of the movie pretty quickly.
Yeah, we don't actually see it,
Yeah.
but it's inferred, yeah.
Well, that's it. I'll get to the rest of my synopsis in a bit, but this movie was cut to pieces by the MPAA.
Yes.
Her death, which looks like a chainsaw stab, she was maybe fully chopped in half.
Yeah.
You know, like the opening of the movie, I really like, and you can show the music in many ways is very Nightmare on Elm Street, but the opening of him assembling, because you see him kill someone off screen with a sledgehammer, which I believe is meant to be Sarah's sister,
Yeah.
and he makes his new face.
Yeah.
And the scene of him putting it together, I really, really like, but it's very reminiscent, and it's New Line, so it's on purpose reminiscent of Freddy Krueger creating his glove.
Yes.
And apparently there was supposed to be a scene there in the movie where he got unmasked,
Oh.
but for whatever reason didn't make it into the film.
Didn't make it.
And there's so many scenes like this where the deaths were... I think this is probably why the film didn't do incredibly well.
Yeah.
I don't even think... It never got released over here, did it? Until DVD.
No, it was refused classification by the BBFC.
God's
For
sake,
a while.
BBFC.
And then when it went to home video, they reclassified it as an 18, which is, in the UK, it's as high as you can get.
Yeah. By the time this came out on DVD, it was probably the early 2000s. There was a big boom of unrated edition DVDs, which is where you can get both endings of this movie. I acquired a version of the film for us to watch, but I wasn't able to get a Blu-ray or a DVD of it in time for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I go into HMV, I see the next generation. So next
Yeah.
time I go in, I'm just going to pick it up for
Yeah.
when we do the next one. Kind of butchered this film in a lot of bits, and there are some bits where, especially towards the end, the editing gets a little bit choppy and it's a bit hard to follow.
Yeah.
Sarah chopped in half.
Out the picture.
Out-
She didn't last long.
Yeah. Ryan caught in a bear trap.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was not a fan of Ryan. I didn't particularly like the actor. I think he's called William Butler. I didn't even clock that him and Michelle were in a romantic relationship. That's how kind of
there's
dry.
not a lot of chemistry yet.
There's not a lot of chemistry. I also just didn't really like him as a character. Like, Michelle I liked from the get-go because Michelle's quite resourceful, and as soon as they realise they're being chased on the road, she's like, we gotta get out of here, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. He's the one that actually kind of falls apart a little bit. So I didn't particularly warm to him, but the second he's in the bear trap, and he tells Michelle to leave, like, to leave him, try and save herself, I'm like, okay, slightly warming to this guy now.
Yeah. Michelle gets captured, gets taken to the home for this one. And what's almost creepier for me than the original one, the house, it looks like a place where you're going to get murdered. The house here, it's kind of neat. She is put in a chair and literally nailed into...
Yeah.
So the family's learned...
They've
learned this is how you keep people in there. And they duct tape her mouth and everything. This is kind of where we meet the rest of the family. So yeah, so Tinker comes back in with Ryan, and they hang him up. Their kitchen's basically set up as a place to, butcher people. So they hang him by hooks through his ankles, and they're just kind of bleeding him out. So obviously, Leatherface comes back in. This is when we revealed that, shockingly, Tex is one of them.
Well, even before this, when Michelle goes into the house for Sanctuary, we don't meet anyone else, but we see a little girl.
Yakety yak, don't talk back.
A seemingly very innocent blonde little girl. Turns out she is also one of the Sawyer clan.
Yeah.
Stabs Michelle right in the leg.
Yeah.
Or something like that. She's like just as sadistic
Well,
as
apparently
all of them.
that is meant to be Leatherface's daughter. Like, we've also got the corpse of Grandpa. So we have to assume that they're all related and that they're cousins. But I've also seen the film described as they're just misfits who found each other. Not really clear. Doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. I do just want to say, like, going back to what we were saying earlier about, trying to connect it to the previous two, because this is a sequel. So your brain can't help but try and, make pieces
In
fit.
fact, you've got Grandpa here as well.
You've got Grandpa, but and obviously, like, in the first two, Leatherface, the cook, they're brothers.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, Tex, Tinker, Alfredo, Leatherface, it is never explicitly stated if these are also brothers. If Tex, Tinker, and Alfredo, characters that we don't see in the previous two films, have always been there, just kind of, more family, just in the picture at that point.
I'm assuming they're cousins.
They could also be cousins, but yeah, we also get Mama, who's a new addition, who I really like, speaks through a voice box. She's wheelchair bound. Equally as sadistic as her boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the little girl, I know there's a rumour that she could be Leatherface's daughter, and I think that springs largely from one moment where she goes to sit on Leatherface's knee.
Yeah.
And he's quite affectionate with her. I don't buy for a second he's a father. We learn in 2 he has no idea what to do with that thing.
2's not canon now. Again, we start trying to...
But Caroline Williams is in this movie.
I know. Because there's a bit where Mama basically says that, he likes the private parts. And it, hints that she cut Grandpa's parts off, cut her own parts off. So
there's something just very sadistic about a woman, especially looking at another woman dead in the eye and delighting in the fact that her genitalia is going to be cut off.
See, I thought when she said that, is that he likes to eat it. It's kind of like anyone who's seen Human Centipede 3 when the prison warden orders a jar of dried vulvas. Yeah, that's a thing that happens. It's an awful... No. I doubt we'll ever look at those films.
Maybe we could let Junior play some. He does make the sweetest damn babies,
Junior likes them private parts.
I assume that was a similar situation. Not that he has sexual desire. Also in this one, his female personas are completely absent.
Yes.
And I think one takes more the forefront in the next film, which I think is a direct sequel.
Yes.
From what I know about it.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. I always like to see where Leatherface is educating himself and he's got this little computer. And was it a picture of a clown comes up and you gotta say what it is, he keeps putting food and you can't work out why he keeps saying he's wrong.
That sorry, just going back to the lack of the female persona with Leatherface. Something I clocked is Tex, when he's with the family and it's firmly established, right? He's one of the Sawyers. He has painted nails.
Well,
brightly red painted nails.
Viggo Mortensen has said that he played him as a closeted homosexual.
Yes, interesting.
And I think when you know that, looking at the way he's dressed with he's got a little ascot on, it's like, oh yeah, I can't see that.
It's like at the beginning when he's at the gas station, he's like flirting with Michelle a little bit. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he's very not interested in
I mean,
her.
wouldn't you trust Viggo Mortensen? Would you trust that face?
I don't think I trust anyone called Tex.
Called Tex. He was a very good-looking man back then.
Oh yeah, he's gorgeous. And obviously, that's probably his job. He's the one that's out there, trying to rope people in, probably. He's using what he's got.
But yeah, it's very interesting performance that he puts in.
It is very interesting, yeah. So
you can also see he's a better actor than this movie deserves.
Yeah,
already, because I think he'd only done 3, maybe 4 films at the time. He was very early on in his career.
Yeah. So this whole sequence really is seedy and sadistic as hell. And it does tie back into 2 and 1. In all 3 of them so far now, we've got a woman who's being tied to a chair, strapped down.
Do you think
witnessing this madness?
The absence of Leatherface's female persona is because there is a mother figure and he doesn't have to fill that role?
Yeah. And yes, and all of these boys, whether they're brothers, cousins, like family.
So the episode is also missing from the second one.
Yeah, but they're all mama's boys,
Yeah.
which also makes it just fucking weird. Yeah, like they all have a deep respect for mama.
Yeah.
God forbid anyone hurts mama. It's weird.
Well, it's going to
but
happen.
I just don't think that little girl is his daughter. I
Yeah.
think what is more than likely, based on what we know of Alfredo, who clearly likes his women, doesn't really give a damn if they're willing or not. I think it's very likely he has probably assaulted a woman, it's resulted in a pregnancy, they've killed the mother, and they've decided to raise the baby. And I think, because again he is such a horrible, seedy, perverted character, Leatherface may have taken on the persona of a father figure for her.
Maybe.
I just don't think he's biologically related. Leatherface, as I say, he's got no idea what to do with that fucking thing.
There was a scene including her that was cut. So Tinker is rigged up something so they pull a rope and a hammer comes down and finish off any
it's a
victims.
good kill.
It's kind of shocking that they didn't realise he was dead. I kind of like Leatherface brings him back and he gets gifted with his new chainsaw for a reason that
Yeah.
he's still alive. Also that Ken Fury is still alive out there.
Yeah.
So he gets his gift for no reason, but he took his headphones from him.
Yeah.
Tinker throws him in the oven. Leatherface forces him to go and pick it back up again. He's so distraught that his tape's destroyed. It's, again, a really good performance of Leatherface. So, in this scene, the little girl needs to pull on the rope and finish off Ryan, her first kill. Oh, the MPAA did not like that.
No.
So it's kind of more implied. And it's such shape you could tell it cuts right as there was going to be a great
Head smash.
head smash. I don't know if I've heard that on some of the DVDs that is like unrated editions where these scenes have been put back in.
Yeah. It's a shame.
But I'm thinking of just as when it went out theatrically, it almost makes the movie feel tame
Yeah. Yeah.
in comparison. Ken Fury shows up.
Yes. Oh.
He's got his rifle and he just starts blasting.
He does start blasting.
Mama gets shot up. Tinker's fingers blasted off on his working hand.
Yeah.
Grandpa's body somehow gets shot up and starts bleeding.
Yeah.
Little girl, she's fine.
Yeah.
Tex, he's fine.
Yeah.
The way the compound kind of looks with the lights kind of reminds me of Jamie Lee Curtis's compound in Halloween 2018.
A little bit, yeah.
Kind of got those vibes. And I think this scene here, in particular, the one that feels the most like New Line's like Friday movies. Just the way it was filmed in
I see
particular.
what you mean. Yeah.
So they have a bit of showdown. It ends with Tex getting set on fire,
Yeah.
which is a really cool fire stunt.
Yeah.
This is when Michelle becomes an interesting character because she's always just fine during it, but like
Yeah.
she rips her hands up off the nails
Yeah.
and escapes. And
yeah.
it's Leatherface
GTFOs.
chases her,
Yeah.
and she's just manic at this point.
It would be.
Becomes the final girl.
Yeah.
God! God!
It's so interesting how one scene can suddenly make a character a final girl, and that is just it. Just the urge to rip herself free.
It's that need to survive, you know,
Yeah.
again, it's
That need to save yourself.
Sally in the original one just jumping out of a window.
Yeah.
Yeah, just impaling herself on the glass, but just doing whatever you can to survive.
Yeah.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
We'd like to shout out our groovy members. We appreciate everything you do for this channel and helping us grow. You guys are awesome.
Leatherface chases her into like a swamp where we've seen Alfredo throw in body parts
Yeah.
early in the movie. Ken Fury turns up to try and save her.
Yeah.
And ends with like a pretty cool fight between them, but in the water, and the chainsaw is like he's dropped it and it's like just going backwards and forwards. There's this constant threat of this like chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool. You got body parts coming up. Obviously, she's screaming
Yeah.
because faces everywhere. It's really exciting.
It is.
This is also where cuts happened.
Yeah. No.
So Leatherface gets the upper hand on Ken Fury and puts his head against the chainsaw. Cuts away, so that was cut down.
He was meant to die in that moment.
He was meant to die in that moment.
Yeah.
This is what really jarred it when we were watching it. Because suddenly then cuts, and Leatherface comes up and out of the water, and I was like, but at no point was he was out of the water last time we saw him. Because he was holding somebody against a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was like, there's something missing here. What is it? Well, now we know what it was that was missing. So we found the clip online. And Tex was supposed to come back, all burnt. And again, Michelle kind of goes up against him and kind of pushes him into one of his own traps, because there's traps all throughout the forest. That's what got Ryan. So he gets impaled on some spikes. Apparently that was too much for the MPA as well. To me, that's actually pretty tame.
It wasn't.
It's quite a dark scene. You can't really see. Then Leatherface bursts out the water. I'm like,
Yeah.
Now that makes sense.
It was cut to shreds.
Absolutely cut to shreds. And in both of them, Michelle then picks up a rock, and for the first time, a woman in these movies fights Leatherface.
Yeah.
But she's got the high ground and just starts smashing him in the face with this rock. Because like in both previous films, they've always tried to escape him or reason with him. They very rarely try and fight him.
Actually go one-on-one with him. Yeah.
And knocks him out. He falls into the water, and I'm like, it's such an empowering moment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I think almost too late into this movie does she suddenly become really interesting. But once she does, she is fighting for her. Those wounds are absolutely getting infected, by the way.
I still think there's glimmers of the final girl in there in the beginning. Because like I was saying, the scenes where she's in the car with Ryan, and especially when they're initially ambushed, she keeps it together a little bit better than he does.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a little bit of glimpses as to what she can become.
Yeah. Should we go for the alternate ending first or the theatrical ending?
Let's go for alternate first.
Alternate first. So, the way the movie was supposed to end is we see her walking across, the barren wastelands of Texas, and a sign of relief as a police car comes along the road. It passes her, and you can see she's so happy. In the backseat, we see the little girl.
She pops up.
And she kind of starts laughing. And she realizes it's not over.
Yeah.
There's so many more people involved, and the police car just drives off. And it's such a nihilistic ending.
It really is, yeah.
Feels more reminiscent of the ending of the original movie. And overall, I do feel that this movie feels more of a spiritual successor to the first one than even the second one.
Yeah,
that is no
I
offense
do.
to Toby Hooper. He on purposely made a movie that was basically in a different genre.
Yeah,
for the
he
sequel.
wanted to do something different.
This wanted to feel more like the original.
Yes.
The theatrical ending, which the director didn't film, he didn't know there was a new ending until the premiere.
He went to see it,
He was
yeah.
not happy.
I wouldn't be. Can
Although
you imagine?
I like both endings, I gotta say.
I'm the same.
So she's in a similar area, but a different area, walking along the road. She kind of sits down on a tyre, sees the truck from the gas station pull up, and she's like, no. Fucking Ken Fury, he's alive. And apparently that was all to do with test screenings. They
really liked his character.
They really liked his character, and they wanted him to survive.
Yeah, I wanted him to survive.
But when you see the full clip of his character dying, it's pretty badass.
It is, but I'm so happy to see him.
I still don't think he would have survived. That type of wound.
He survived. I'm calling
He
it.
survived.
Fucking Alfredo pops up. He's on the back of the
pops up,
truck.
knocks out. Oh, it's in the side truck. Knocks out Ken Fury.
Yeah.
And Michelle grabs a shotgun from the back of the truck and points it at him through the back window onto the back of the truck bed. He's cocky because he assumes she doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Oh, she knows.
Yeah.
Blasts him away. What's the line that she
away.
says?
There's roadkill all over Texas.
There's roadkill all over Texas.
Got that right.
As much as it's annoying for the director, I actually do kind of like this scene.
It's also like a nice little callback to when they killed an armadillo.
Armadillo in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a week, the armadillo has an earring on, which we see Tinker wear. I keep calling him Tinker. Tinker wears, and the little girl has as a necklace.
Yeah.
So, is he just putting jewellery on animals?
Who the fuck knows?
Who knows?
Torturing animals as well whilst they're at it. I mean, why not?
Why not? I actually do kind of like it. I think it's a badass moment for her. We get a character that we like to return. But there's also surviving members of the family.
We don't see the little girl die. We don't know what happens to Tinker either. Presumably Tinker survives.
Well, he's only shot in the hand.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a bit of a ongoing mystery as to what happens to them.
We've not seen the next generation, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming that follows on.
Well, also the theatrical ending, Leatherface survives.
Oh, he does.
Because
Yeah, we
his
see him
leg brace comes into shot.
with his chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's he doesn't really get. It means he doesn't get a kill with that fancy ass chainsaw.
No.
But it is pretty badass. Overall, this film is just. It's very. This sounds like a criticism. It's very palatable. Out of all the films we've watched so far, it's the easiest going to watch. And if you take like a couple of things that were cut to pieces out of it, it's actually just a really enjoyable, fairly easygoing
I agree.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre film.
Yeah.
And that, to me, makes it more rewatchable.
Yes. So this is the thing for me. Out of all of the ones I've seen so far, this is the one where I came away thinking I could happily rewatch that one again The first one, I have seen it a few times, but again, it's not a film I think that's easy to return to. The second one, I do enjoy. It's so loud. It is so fucking loud.
Drayton is so loud.
Yeah, and it's so wacky, and it's so zany. I do think that curbs its rewatchability a little bit. 3, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, it has, like I was saying at the beginning, it's got like the right amount of 1 and 2 combined to make it ultimately.
Right.
It's just right. It's like, okay, it's mainstream enough. It's gory enough. The characters are fun enough. There's still a little bit of the comedy in there. It's like I can enjoy this as a watching experience.
Yeah.
I know I will rewatch this again.
It's a shame that New Line, basically after it flopped, they had zero interest in doing another Texas Chainsaw. And it's like, they owned 3 icons. Arguably, would it have been easier for them to do Freddy versus Leatherface than Freddy versus Jason?
Maybe.
I was pleasantly surprised by this film.
I'm upset that this doesn't have a higher rating.
Out of the ones I've seen, to be honest, I think the only one I've not seen is Next Generation. I believe I've seen all the other ones. This is far from bottom of my list. I actually rate it fairly high.
So I would rate this very high, probably surprisingly high.
I'd rate this above 2022, 2013, 2017, the prequel to 2003. Probably, in terms of rewatchability, I'd put it above 2003 as well, because that's also very loud. The first movie, look, we know it's untouchable. Yeah. We've actually considered, when we finished doing full list, we're going to do a ranking list just on the sequels, because the first movie is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how rewatchable it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it'd rather be more fun. It's like if you were ranking the Halloween movies, and it's like, oh, they always end on the first one. Why not just take that out of the equation and just rank the sequels?
And just rank the sequels.
That would be a more fun list for me.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we're going to do.
I think we definitely will at some point. Yeah. Well,
you've only got 3 more to watch.
God, that's a bit weird, actually.
Yeah, you got The Next Generation. You've not seen the prequel to 2003, and you've not seen Leatherface from 2017.
Yeah. All of them are bad, though.
Oh, they are. Yeah,
I think that's the thing with this one, Texas Chainsaw 3. It's like, I think generally, I think the consensus is a lot of people think this is ultimately a fairly forgettable entry in the franchise, but it's by far from the worst entry in the franchise. Which, I guess all things considered is not a bad position to have. But we've established continuity is fucked with this franchise across the board. The consistency of the films is up and down constantly. But as I say, of the ones I've watched so far, this one works for me. I actually think this has been much maligned over the years. I do feel bad for Jeff Burr, because it seems like he had a bit of a rough time making the movie, and certainly there were a lot of surprises when he went to see the finished film. A lot of the scenes that made it in were not even his.
Yeah. I guess not getting a UK release obviously wouldn't have helped it.
Yeah.
Again, cut to pieces.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have helped it.
But I think I finally found a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that I can say I enjoy watching, that I actually really did have a fun time with. And I never thought I'd say that.
I did it.
Yeah, Leatherface.
I've got you on board with the Chucky films. Got you on board finally with the Texas Chainsaw films.
One film.
One.
One film.
Next will be Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare is coming.
Yeah. Have you got any more notes on this one?
No.
No? Honestly, we were pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
For this one.
Also, I do just want to say I'm fully aware that Leatherface does not don a suit in this one. He's in his apron. But this is all I got. This is the only.
I don't even know if he's in it. I can't remember what he's wearing in this one.
Some kind of apron, maybe.
Yeah, and basically, I need a Leatherface pop.
He doesn't dress for dinner in this one.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next week.